This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome back to the Trend Report podcast, everyone. My name is Trevor Block, and I'm taking over the podcast for the month of March. Throughout the month of March, we're going to be looking into the second generation and their perspective on the industry. It's a little bit of a different approach from how the podcast usually goes. So I have 4 guests lined up for the month of March to talk about some of the things that they've experienced and talked about their journey coming into the industry. So today's guest, I have Will Dvorak. How are you doing today, Will?
I'm doing well, Trevor. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. And thank you for spending some time to join me. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So just to kind of set the stage, would you tell all the listeners a little bit about you, who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Will Dvorak, and I am the market vice president for Workscapes in Orlando. And so I run the Orlando location. And so yeah, I've been in this business since 1998 from arm's length, is what I like to tell people. But yeah, no, it's been good. And so I kind of started in the manufacturer side of the business. And I was actually looking to get into commercial real estate. But then I got approached by a Herm Miller-owned company called Nebshoff, and they were looking to hire someone in San Diego area. And so that kind of, I was like, 22, living in San Diego, that sounds pretty good. I could do that. And also I wanted to get in the healthcare field, and Nebshoff, they do all the soft seating for healthcare and hospitals and even higher education. So kind of ended up out there, and then worked there for about a year and a half, and was approached by the dealer out there, and I kind of felt like I was a little pigeonholed with Nebshoff. The great product offering, but I wanted to do more. So GM had approached me, the Herm Miller dealer out there at the time, and wanted to hire me in San Diego, and was going to give me all these accounts, and it was going to be great. And I was like, let's do something a little more challenging. They have a new location opening in Orange County, and I'll be their first employee. So being the salesperson I wanted all the accounts to come to me, or if I found something, it would go directly to me and wouldn't get dispersed to anybody else. It's like, I'll be the first employee in the Orange County location. So I went up there instead and just started from nothing and had to build that up. So that was awesome. I was living in Newport Beach, was calling all these great accounts. It was just a blast. And kind of then after about a year of doing that, my folks originally wanted me to go out and work somewhere else for 3 to 5 years. It had been 2 years at the time, or 2.5 years. And I got a call from my mom, and she's like, we relocated our headquarters from Miami to Tampa. At the time, we had 5 locations. We had sold our Miami location and gotten down to 4. So we relocated our headquarters from Miami to Tampa. And she's like, we need a new business developer. And they saw that I was learning stuff out at GM, because GM had a great onboarding process and training system. So I was able to get really, really good training. And they saw I was starting to hit my stride. So of course, if I'm starting to hit my stride, they're like, hey, we want you to come back. It's like, well, I'm leaving all these jobs on the table, millions of dollars in jobs that I just got to walk away from. But then my mom, being the good seller that she is, she's like, well, we can either hire you or we can hire somebody else. I'm like, well, I would hire me. So that was in 2019, and moved back to Tampa, and had to start from zero again. And I have a trend of starting places and building it up and then leaving right at the peak, and then going to do the same thing over and over again. It's a great theme, Trevor.
It's a cool story to hear. You love the challenge so much that you come in at the bottom, work it all the way towards the top, and then once you get there, you look for the next challenge. There's almost no pleasing. It's you need more on your plate just to make sure that you're always challenging yourself.
Yeah, and I just walk away from a bunch of money too. So my successors have been very, very grateful for me, I think. But it was good. So I started in Tampa just as a new business developer, kind of like what I was doing in California, and that was just a blast. I mean, we went from zero sales to last year. I was able to do about 5 million in 2 years. So that was awesome. And it was really good that I went out to California first, I think, and 2 reasons. One, I had a really good perspective from working at 2 other companies, coming into Workscapes into a family business. So I was able to bring more to the table than just someone going right into it at a school without knowing anything and going into a family business. And that was big for my parents to have me get that experience. It was big for myself. I didn't want to go right in to the business. So I was coming from a different perspective, and I was also coming from an extremely competitive market. I was competing against 2 other Herm Miller dealers, 3 other Steelcase dealers, 2 Hayward dealers. So you had to be quick, and you had to be smart, and people really needed to trust that you knew what you're talking about. And when I first started, I didn't. So I kind of had to learn on my own and learn by experience, both good and bad. So that was really good coming back. And I knew the players that you had to navigate and the influencers that you had to get in your corner in order to generate new business from a dealer perspective. So that was awesome. And yeah, we did about our team did about 5 million last year in sales, and we did about 800,000 my first year, just trying to get the ground running. And then we did about 5 million last year. So it was fun. It was awesome.
Well, one of the things that I remember the first time I sat down and talked to you, told me a little bit about your journey and the direction that you went. And one of the things that kind of stuck with me is you explained to me how when you first came into the industry, you wanted to take an approach to really earn, not only respect, but really understand the business from a different level. Because as a second generation, you always have that person you can go back to and ask questions and kind of bounce ideas off, whether they're good ideas or bad ideas, but at least you get the honest answer being a second generation. So that was one of the things that stuck out is, you wanted to come in, you wanted to learn everything. So that way, when it came down to making the choice of joining Workscapes or going a different direction, you brought a lot to the table. So hats off to you. And again, I know the promotion's pretty new, but congratulations to that as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no. So yeah, I got approached by my folks, and it was a tough decision because I had gotten such good momentum in Tampa, I built up a good client base. People were knowing me. I honestly loved living in Tampa. We have a great team there. But I grew up in Orlando, and that's where we started the business in '98. And so it's kind of like a coming home thing. And we just needed help in Orlando. And I was honestly, what intrigued the idea was I wanted to help from just strictly a sales perspective by selling in both markets. And Elizabeth was like, well, you either got to be like one place or the other. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And at the same time, also I should probably lead with is my fiance is working in Orlando at a law school. That's really the number one reason. So it made sense both personally and professionally. Being a lot of good salespeople, in my opinion, don't make great sales managers because usually a sales manager is not going to make as much as a seller. And that was running through my head a little bit when I got initially approached, but then I took a step back. I was like, well, this is really an investment in my career and a growth and growth in the company. And I really wanted to help mold and grow a culture here in Orlando, which is what we needed and need. So it's a new challenge for me. And whereas, before I was worried about just growing and making sure my clients are taken care of. And now I'm focused on our people as number one priority, make sure that they're taken care of that they're supported, and that we have a culture that fits our core values as a company. Make sure they're following that process. And so it's a new challenge. It's the day-to-day view is looked at through a different lens than when I was out strictly in the field. But it's good. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun to work with a team and grow a team. So it's good.
So I want to take a little bit of time and look at your perspective of the industry. So kind of throughout this whole month, we've been talking about some of the ways that listeners and leaders can take a different approach when looking at the direction that our industry can go. So kind of as a second generation and as someone who's built an incredible portfolio for themselves, what is something or a couple different things that you see as opportunities in the industry, and how might it differentiate from people that have been a part of the industry for so long?
So a good opportunity for the industry is honestly to market itself, that, hey, like we exist, like you can do this for a living and make a great living doing it. Right now, most people in our generation, the first things that when they're graduating college that they think of, financial industry, lawyer, accounting, commercial real estate, when they think of like lucrative industries to get into. And yes, they are lucrative, but they're also extremely, extremely competitive. And coming into this industry, there's not a lot of young talent out there. And some people view that as discouraging. Me being younger, I view that as an opportunity to project yourself through the industry at a faster pace. So, but I think the industry and dealers, manufacturers, A&D firms, all the people that are kind of have a hand in this industry need to do a much better job, and have a great opportunity in front of them to market this industry as a desirable industry to get into. And I don't know if that answers the question, but that's just what was on my mind. So.
Yeah, and I like the approach you took with that too, is that, looking at the industry, especially when I joined, some of the younger talent, there wasn't as many as there are today. But one of the opportunities that I think that creates, and you kind of touched upon it briefly, is that there's so many people that create good mentors that can really build you a successful path throughout the journey of your career. And with, hand selecting a couple people to come in and take those chances and setting them up with the right mentors, you can really fast track their learning. Because I remember the first time we sat down and talked, that would have been about a year ago, and I still had no idea how dealerships really run. And you kind of clarified my vision of what made sense to me. And so, coming in as a new person and trying to learn this industry as fast as possible, one of the ongoing things is that it takes, 3 to 5 years to learn how everything in this industry works, because it's so complex. But when you bring in young talent, you really dedicate some people to spending some time with them on a weekly basis, monthly basis, you can really fast track the direction that they go. And I know I've been able to see it firsthand from joining an industry and then everything going into lockdown. And so my knowledge of dealerships and manufacturers come through other second generations that have given me the chance to sit down and spend some time just picking their brains. So I agree with you. I think the opportunity for marketing this industry, for the value that it holds and the excitement that the people inside the industry bring, is a huge opportunity, and something that, every single company within this industry can use as a promotion strategy for bringing in new talent. So I love the approach of that.
Yeah. And I think right now, the state of the industry right now is that everyone is trying to pick up market share, whether you got Herman Miller buying Knoll, you got dealers getting into different services. It's all about market share. So from a recruitment standpoint, now is a great opportunity to really get in this industry, because you can do so much as from a dealer perspective. Like there's so many things that, like, we're so much more than just furniture. And that's really the message I'm trying to get across to my team. And I've done it in Tampa. Like, we've packaged a bunch of deals together that are more than just furniture. The design services, flooring, artwork, shades. There's so many different things that you can do as a dealer seller, which was super attractive to me. when I first switched over to the dealer world versus the manufacturer, there's so many different ways you can go and different ways that you can service your clients. And a lot of them like the term one-stop shop. And you're seeing a lot of dealers diversify their portfolio really for two reasons. One, like I said, to gain market share. Then two is margin. And this industry has been a subject of serious margin erosion from the dealer and from the manufacturer probably too. But an aligned dealer, and a lot of people don't know this, but a aligned dealer really needs to do about 17 to 18% blended margin just to break even on a job. So what that tells me is that it's hard to make money in this business as a dealer owner. Now, there's ways to make that margin get healthier so that you can keep the lights on and keep going and keep growing. And one of those solutions is to diversify your portfolio. So at Workscapes, we have a furniture division that makes up about 80% of our revenue. And we got a flooring division that we just launched 2 years ago that's already hit the ground running. And then we have a walls division that we've been doing for about 10 years. And that's just keeps on growing because it's just a better way to build, and it's building with intent and technology focused. So, and you're seeing more dealers do that. You're seeing some dealers get into the audio visual industry because think about it, back to the client experience. Some clients don't know what they don't know. So if you can be a one-stop shop and reduce the amount of trades that they have to go through to get an answer or to get things done, that just saves them so much time and money and headache. So they don't have to quit their day job and can focus on what it is that they do best. And we can focus on what it is that we do best.
So you talked a little bit about some of the changes that you've done internally, and I want to kind of narrow down the scope a little bit. So kind of throughout the past 2 years, obviously this industry's seen more changes combined in probably the past 15, 20 years. So from some of the things that we've seen, what are, some of the changes that excite you and excite kind of the direction that this industry can go?
One of the things that really excites me about this industry is the use of technology and utilizing technology to help close deals more. And what I mean by that is kind of going back to the customer experience. Before, like when I was in California, we would create a design, send to the client. They'd review it for 3 days, send it back. And we create a design, send the client, they review it. And next to whereas you have like 4 weeks going back and forth with design and the client, and the client's pissed because they're like, why can't we get this done? We're taking so long. You're not understanding what I'm saying. So we nix that. If we can do what's called a live design session, which is where we pull up CET and we literally have the client create their space. And you have to have a good designer doing this. But we've had deals where we've had the C-suite and they're hand creating the design of their space. So that does really two things when you utilize technology in that way. One, it gets buy-in from the client, and then two, it gets you quicker. It gets you to the end of the road quicker, and you're like, all right, we got a layout. Let's move on to product, budget, and finishes, and then we're off to the races. So you can shave about 3 weeks of back and forth in about a 3.5 hour session. So as a dealer, you're saving your cost of sale, you're saving the client's time, and you're getting to the end faster and more efficient, honestly. So that I like, that's something we've been utilizing a lot. And that's the use of technology, and utilize technology, whether it's through live design or marketing or the way a client buys furniture or any of your other services. Utilize technology and leverage it, because technology, honestly, it drives everything we do, everything. So leverage that.
Yeah, that's one of the consistent answers that's, going to come up and that have come up at a lot of these types of conversations. But one of the things I just want to kind of mention out again, and I know this is going to be something that's coming out a lot, but the next generation is starting to make their pull into our industry. People like myself, people like Will, people like that are joining the podcast over the next few weeks and throughout the month of March. But one of the things that, is always good just to kind of plant the seed and keep into consideration is that our generation isn't only joining the industry, but they're becoming our customers. And so a lot of the things that we're talking about in terms of the technology that you can use and, utilizing some of the different tactics and taking approaches for marketing, like you just mentioned, it's extremely valuable for almost targeting the next generation of customers. And so I think it creates a huge opportunity for all the listeners to take a look at, not only the way that you're doing business now, but how you can be doing business in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and so far down the line. This industry has a lot to offer and a lot to hold. And so I think it's an interesting approach just to look at not only some of the changes that you can make tomorrow, but some of the changes that need to be made for the next generation of clients coming in as well.
Yeah. And I think you got a lot of people that's still in our industry that's still doing things that they did like this. They're still doing things the way that they did 15 to 20 years ago. And that's just because our industry is pretty long in the tooth. But you made a great point. Our generation is eventually going to be leading these companies and buying our services and buying furniture. And we live in an Amazon instant gratification world. So how do we take something that's usually a super long sales cycle and a lot of consultation, and how do we make it seamless as possible? Because nothing's ever seamless. But how do we make it as seamless as possible to where that they can understand what it is that we're doing and we can understand what it is that they want. And getting back to utilizing technology, that's a huge part of that. And because eventually, they're just going to want to tell us what they want and all right, go do it. And we've run into that already with clients, and they get frustrated, we get frustrated, but really that's kind of where we're heading is, how do we become the path of least resistance for a client when they're trying to get a project done? And utilizing technology is the way you do it, in my opinion.
And the best part about the technology aspect of it is that there's no right way to do it. There's a lot of different approaches that you can take.
Yep.
There's things you're going to learn. You're going to run into things that don't work. You're going to run into things that do work. But as soon as you find the one that clicks with the process that you and your team are aiming to follow, it fast tracks everything and creates the dealer journey and the customer experience a lot smoother. And that's one of the things that I learned from you.
Yeah. We like to, I say we like to try and follow the KISS method, which is keep it simple, stupid. So, we really we got a 3-step process. And I've worked at places where the process was literally 182 steps long. I'm like, no millennial is going to look at this and be like, okay, yep, I can follow this. It's just not going to happen. So or if you get a really good seller, in my opinion, that is good at business development, they're going to look at that and their head's going to spin. So how do we keep it simple? So we just got a 3-step process. It's discover, design, and deliver. And discover happens early stages, find out what the client's goals and objectives are when they're looking to move in, asking really open-ended questions, high level. Then once we get that done, we move into the design stage where design is working with the client, going back and forth, figuring out what it is that they want, the nuts and bolts. And then deliver is obviously, in my opinion, where the rubber meets the road, because there's a lot of dealers out there that can do a great discovery session, great design, but when it comes to delivering installation, they fumble, and then the client never wants to work with them again, because that's the last taste in the mouth. That's just like if you go online and you find a product that you love and you're hyped about, and it's gonna solve every need that you can, but then when you go to buy it, it either doesn't show up or shows up broken or it's the wrong one. That's gonna leave a bad taste in your mouth. So same thing with us, and we don't make anything. We don't make an Aeron chair. We don't make a desk. We simply are a service-based business. So client experience is everything. And from the first to the last step. So, and a lot can be lost in that on the 10-yard line. So that's something that we really prioritize.
I think one of the things that stood out for me is the kiss analogy. That is hilarious. And that is something
Yeah,
that
isn't
a
that
lot
great?
of people need to keep into consideration, to keep it simple, stupid. So we've spent a lot of time kind of talking about the journey of what you've been through with the dealership and also created some opportunities there. So I want to shift focus a little bit on for new hires that would be joining the industry. So one of the things I like to ask is, for people that are promoting some of the benefits of working in the dealership, you've gone through the journey from starting off just trying to learn this to, getting to the top and then going into a different direction and joining your parents' company. So for someone that's brand new, coming to join the industry, looking to get a role in a dealership, how would you promote almost the opportunity and the direction that they can go just based on the interest of joining this industry?
If they're trying to get into a dealership, is that what you're asking?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So my biggest thing, and I've talked to a couple of people in our company about this right now because they're newer, is you got to be patient. It's at least, if you're getting into sales, it takes about a year to year and a half at least for one, the learning curve, and then two, to build up a book of business to where you're starting to see the return on investment of your efforts. You got some people, like some of the top producers in this industry, that they make 400 to 500, 600 grand sometimes, depending on a good year. But those are people that have been doing it for a while and have a great book of business. But the way I market it is, if you really want to get into sales, and it's the same for a lot of industries out there, including commercial real estate. You're not really going to make much money the first year, but if you're doing your due diligence, you really should double your income the next year. If you're doing your due diligence and having consistent effort and hustle. So, and it's strictly this is a relationship based business, Trevor. There's intricacies that each company is going to have and pitch you on, but this is a relationship based business, and there's a lot of things that other competitors can do and say, just like you can. But at the end of the day, does the client trust that you're going to get it done for them, and do they like working with you? Like, that's how you avoid a bid. That's how you win a bid. That's how you grow your business. That's how you grow your name in the community. It's strictly it's a relationship based business. And again, following the KISS method. Keep it simple. Stupid.
Yeah, no matter who you talk to in the industry, one of the things that'll always come up is the people. The people make this industry. And, through a couple of the live recorded sessions that I've done with our training platform, one of the questions I ask a lot of industry experts is, what do you love about working in this industry? And some of the references that I've gotten from that is hilarious. It's like a cult. Once you join it, there's no leaving, no matter how hard you try. The other one is it's like a frat group where you're competing with all of these other people, but as soon as you sit down and have a conversation, you can have a beer with them and you're good to go. So it's something that's so consistent just amongst this industry, is that how good the people are and how easy it is to communicate and solve problems just by talking and having conversations like this.
Yeah. And it's small. It's a small industry. I mean, if you look, so like my theory is never burn any bridges. Yes, there's competitors, but there are so many, and I've seen it firsthand where, we have people working in our office that were our competitor for 10 years and they're now working in our office. So, because we didn't burn any bridges and we, respected them. But I mean, the furniture industry is really about a $12 to $15 billion industry, which is really not very big. Apple did 50 billion in revenue last quarter. So just to give you a perspective. So don't burn any bridges. The culture, I think it is good, and it's shifting a little bit because you got more companies trying to get into our sandbox, and we're trying to get into other companies' sandboxes. And what I mean by that, you got some design firms now selling furniture, you got some GCs now selling furniture. So it's becoming a little more saturated, but the cream always rises to the top. And so, yeah, but it's a good industry, and it's one that not a lot of people know about, but we need to do a better job as the next generation of exemplifying or promoting, what this industry can do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And another analogy has popped in my head: Hotel California. Once you're in, you're not leaving.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I've seen people try to leave, and they always end up coming back for some reason, because the grass is not always greener. And I've seen people leave to try and go in commercial real estate, and they end up coming back. I've seen people go to the A&D community, and then they end up coming back. So it comes full circle.
So we got time for about 2 more questions here. So the first thing I want to ask you is, coming in as a second generation, obviously we bring a unique perspective. We bring a lot of drive to the industry and kind of empowering the younger generation coming up. So kind of just a high level question here. What are some of your goals throughout your journey in the industry? Looking down the road, 15, 20, 30 years, what are some of the goals you have, for developing this industry and developing, some of the things that you're working on?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say my goals is not necessarily concerned about the industry, but concerned about Workscapes and what Workscapes is going to be. Because at the end of the day, I don't work for Herman Miller. I don't work for OFS. I don't work for Dirt. I work for Workscapes. So how does Workscapes? My goal is for Workscapes to be indispensable. I want to be $100 million company. I want to attract and retain the best talent in the industry, and have a culture that exemplifies our core values. So those are really my long-term goals. I know it's pretty vague, but that's my vision, and to attract the next generation to take us, throughout the long term.
Yeah, no, I think, and vague is an understatement. I think that's an incredible option for, especially being a part of, family business and having, the people that supported you your whole life, bringing you in and giving you opportunities to go out and reach different end goals that might not have been in their sight. But I love the approach of that is not only creating sustainability, but creating the excitement and creating kind of not even an end goal, but a way to pass the torch off one more time and continue the journey. And so you can see things for maybe not 50 years down the line, but almost 70 years down the line. So I like the approach you took on that.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
And so we got time for the last question here. And so I want to just kind of dig into a lot of the things that we've talked about. So for all the listeners kind of tuning in, what is one piece of advice that you would give to them to not only challenge their thought process, but challenge the way that they do business?
Yeah. One thing I would say to all the listeners is it's all effort. It's pretty simple. Like if you really want to learn this business, you can thrive very quickly. And I'll say something that'll probably get me in trouble, but there's a lot of mediocrity in this industry. And I've seen some really good people rise up really, really quickly. And then I've seen some people that are just okay. They just they even rise up sometimes. But I think if you just hustle and commit to being patient for the first, say you're getting in the industry, you commit to being patient for the first year and a half, and you just grind and you work and you build relationships and learn the business, learn your product, you will flourish, because this industry is desperate for talent. So that's my advice. It's all effort.
And I think one thing you can almost put as a connection to that too is it's all about passion. Finding something within the industry that you're passionate about, the effort comes naturally. And I know, with the group of second generations that we've been grateful enough to put together, it's incredible to see the drive that everyone has and the passion. It really sets up that there's a good pillar for the direction of this industry. And, one of the other things I just want to key on to the takeaway too is that for a lot of the listeners, if, everyone puts a plan together of what their next year is going to look like, what their next 5 years is going to look like, what their next 10 years is going to look like. One of the things that I think that came out of this conversation today is, what's some ideas of what you can aim for 30 years? Might not be in our time, might not be in your time, but what's something that we can all kind of work towards in the direction of the industry? Putting visions beyond just what we have now, but where we can go with this. And I think that creates a huge opportunity. I think it creates the right mindset for moving forward as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, no, I totally agree.
Well, Will, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate you spending some time to share your perspective and really talk about some of the biggest opportunities that the industry holds. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So just as we wrap up here, again, quick reminder, throughout the month of March, I've taken over the podcast to talk a little bit about the next generation and our perspective on the industry. So you'll be able to see all of these coming out. And thank you for spending some time and joining the conversation. And thank you again, Will.
All right. Thanks, Trevor. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.